Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your patience here this morning as we got set and ready to go here where sports truly meets that thing called life, and very excited for everything that's going to be coming up today. We have a plethora of places we're going to go to in the sports world, and a very unique show that we're going to have today. So very excited to be here with you, of course, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as we will be discussing esports as well as college football. We'll head to officiating, and then we'll finish up with the ingredients to success. So a very unique broadcast going to be coming to you today here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. You know, in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Bryant Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse, we bring you exclusive content all throughout the year with student athletes, coaches, and administration. And today we are about to make history, as for the first time ever, I will be featuring the new esports head coach, which is Connor Carroll. Connor Carroll, and our special going to be airing this morning as we get to know the head coach of the Bryant Stratton Syracuse esports program, what he's all about, why Bryant Stratton, and just what he can say about what he brings to the table as he is out recruiting and looking to bring in a fantastic team for his first chapter of being the head coach at Bryant Stratton. So very excited to talk about esports with the new head coach at Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse, that being Connor Carroll. That special is going to air momentarily, and then we're going to get into, at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, I'll be joined live, picture-in-picture, with Nick Monroe. Nick Monroe, a longtime coach at Syracuse with the Syracuse Orange football program under Dino Babers, the former head coach. Then he went over to the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So before Dino's final season, he decided to leave. So he wasn't with the team in 2023, left after the 2022 season to become the co-defensive coordinator and cornerbacks coach for the Minnesota Golden Gophers inside of the Big Ten. We're going to be catching up with Nick Monroe on his Syracuse days, his Minnesota days, and coaching in today's world of college football. So that's coming up at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with Nick Monroe. And then we'll go live with Dennis Hennigan. Dennis Hennigan, Central New York native, who has joined me before as the ACC coordinator of football officiating. He joins me today in his new role, and that's a role that he had this past season as the Supervisor of Instant Replay for Big 12 football. He's joining me because I wanted an official's view on some of these calls and some of these pieces that we have seen in this year's football world, be it professional or collegiately. So we're going to have a conversation coming up here with the officiating side of things, which I'm really excited about, with Dennis Hennigan, and that'll be happening around 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then just a little bit past what we typically say, which is 10:50, we're going to have the ingredients to success, which rounds out every Tuesday broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, happening today around 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So with that being said, we're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we come back, you will see for the first time ever Connor Carroll, the esports head coach for Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse, as we unveil our first ever Bobcat Buzz with Connor after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge, and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item, available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome here to an all-new edition of the Bobcat Buzz and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse Bobcats. I am here for the first time ever making Bobcat Buzz history with Connor Carroll, the head coach of the Bryant Stratton Syracuse ESports program. Connor, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's a good day to be a Bobcat.
Absolutely. So you and I were talking a little bit off the air about this, so I'd love for you to share with everybody how this happened, how it came about that you became the head coach of the esports program at Bryant Stratton Syracuse.
So I've been personally competing in esports for about 4 years now. I do a lot of competitive Pokemon. I started having a little bit of success, so I started looking for opportunities to get more involved. And I grew up over in Cazenovia, 20 minutes outside of Syracuse. So when I saw an opportunity over here at Bryant Stratton, I was like, this is a perfect way to get more involved, and I'm excited to be a part of the team.
Why do you think Bryant Stratton Syracuse said yes to you to be the head coach for esports?
So by my day job, I am a middle school teacher. I've started a couple esport clubs at two of the schools that I've worked at. So I have a good foundation for building a program from the ground up. We've gone through a lot of transitions, and I'm excited to be a part of the growing future as we develop the sleeping giant of a program. The resources are beautiful. I love this lab that I'm lucky to be a part of and share with our students and our players. So I'm looking forward to bringing this program some success.
How does a teacher bringing up kids also fade into this world of esports? How did you find a passion for both?
So I grew up playing video games my whole life. I still, to this day, I've got my my Mondays with my boys just playing some Call of Duty, making sure we're getting our zombies in, and there's a great sense of community between gamers, and I love that sense of community. It's how I run my classroom. I just want to make sure that everybody's welcome, everybody feels like they're contributing, and so I I look forward to getting a team built and assembled that's going to work together and figure out how we can win some matches.
There was a couple people involved at potentially leading this program at Bryant Stratton Syracuse, but we never really saw it get like that team feel. So do you feel like you're almost taking over an inaugural program? Do you feel like you're taking over something that has a foundation, or to you, is this your baby? Is this an opportunity to start something new?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's been some great foundation. The equipment, the teamwork with the IT department has been great. I've really liked working with our IT guys so far, and they're helping me getting the computers up and running, getting everything going. So I think that this is both. Yeah, it's I'm gonna be helping build it, but I think the people that have laid the groundwork started making the connections with high schools, because some of the high schools I've reached out to have already said we've spoken to some Bryant Stratton people before. So I think it's both is the best answer I got.
And before I let you go, I mean, as you're recruiting, when you and I get off of this conversation, you're going to be out recruiting. How do you go about this? Because there's so many people that play video games. I played video games my whole life. You know, I have everything from the original Nintendo and Sega Genesis to, you know, my Xbox Series X and all that stuff. So I know the gaming world, and there's a lot of people out there that might say, well, what goes into this, right? We all game, we all play it, we love it. There's millions of people that play video games. How do you recruit to find a specific student athlete when it comes to esports?
So right now we actually just signed our first recruit last week for this next fall, which I'm super stoked about. And what I shared with him was like we're a community, and we all have these connections, and we all know somebody who games. And I told him, like, listen for that Discord beep. If you want to share this opportunity with someone else, listen for the Discord notifications. Listen for that little drop of, oh yeah, I'm a top laner for League. Like, just listen for that so we can like start grabbing people, because it's not just high schoolers that we're looking for. We're looking for anybody. Anybody that wants to be a part of this Bryant Stratton family is a welcome addition to this program. So we're looking for current students, future students, high schoolers, where I've got a whole bunch of contacts through my personal schooling life that I can reach out to high school coaches. So I'm looking for anybody who's interested, and I'm looking for my players to look for them as well. So, yeah.
Are you keeping locally, or do you look outside of the area? How do you what's kind of the radius of your recruiting?
So right now I am looking pretty locally, because I think there's a lot of talent locally. We've got the new Elite Gaming out in Syracuse that's again set up and running and having a lot of success. So there's a lot of talent here that I'm looking at. I know I'm also keeping my eyes peeled on the results of the high school brackets through Play Versus. I'm watching those results, and I'm looking for some top performers to come in and join us and start those conversations. But yeah, right now there's a lot of local talent, so we're really looking to bring them in.
Well, I know that this is an initial Bobcat Buzz for us, because we're going to have an extended one in just a little bit here. You got a lot of recruiting calls to go to, so I'm going to give you the final word here. As you get on those calls, what do you want to say to the community here in Central and Upstate New York on why they should join Bryant Stratton Syracuse?
We're going to definitely be a community that supports one another. All gamers love to stream in their free time, so we're going to build each other up. We're going to share that success. We're going to promote each other. We're going to just look for opportunities to get involved. And I'm looking forward to seeing who tags along for the ride.
Carroll here with us, the head coach of esports at Bryant Stratton Syracuse for the Bobcats. I look forward to talking with you soon. My best to you on the recruiting trail, Connor, and
Thank
we'll
you very
talk in
much.
just a little bit on Bobcat Buzz.
Cool. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Take care.
You too.
Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life, and I always appreciate you being with us on all of our channels. Wherever you are in the world, you can find us on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So make sure that you do that Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We have some time, speaking of time, between now and Nick Monroe joining the broadcast. So I'm excited to talk about a bunch of different things today. And when Nick Monroe joins us, he'll talk about his history at Syracuse, his time with Dino, now his time over with the Minnesota Golden Gophers, which I'm excited for the opportunity to share that with him and kind of how everything's been going, what the Big Ten life is like, what he's experiencing there as he gets set for the fact that the Big Ten is now going to have a whole Western side with USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington joining the Big Ten. So excited to see what that's all going to look like. PJ Fleck will talk about his experience with PJ Fleck, the head coach, and get into all of that here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So very much looking forward to the opportunity of spending some time with Nick Monroe, and then we'll go on from there to get into the Super Bowl and some calls and some things that are on my mind in the officiating world of college and professional football with Dennis Hennigan, which I very much cannot wait to have that conversation, and then the ingredients to success. But before we go to any of those, I want to jump in to Syracuse basketball. Syracuse basketball on the men's and women's side, because a lot of people pay attention to the men's side and, talk about what's going on with the men and how the men are doing and if the men are this and if the men are that and if the men are going to make the tournament. But the women have been consistently ranked in the nation's top 25. And the women just had a huge game at home where they won 73-72 here recently. So I want to give some flowers to the Syracuse Orange women's basketball team. I don't think that they get spoken about enough, and I think that there should be a spotlight on them because Felicia Leggett-Jack, the head coach of this team and an alum of the program of Syracuse Orange women's basketball, being an alum of the program and somebody who came back last season, did some good things, and now we look at this season and where the team is at, ranked 19th in the nation, and having a record of 20-4 this season. They've won 3 in a row. They're 10-3 in the ACC, and they're in the top 3 spots for the ACC, which is huge. They're 13-1 at home, taking care of the Dome, 5-3 on the road, 2-0 on neutral court. And we look at how they've done recently here. Let's go through and take a look at how things went in general as we look through the season that they've had. They lost by 2 to a Maryland team that was ranked 19-20 inside of the coaches polls and the AP polls. They were 20-19 depending on where you're looking. They lost by just 2 to them. They defeated Alabama in the ACC SEC Challenge in the Dome, 79-73. We look at some other games here. Up against Notre Dame, who was ranked 12th and 13th in the nation, beat them 86-81 at home in the Dome. Speaking of Syracuse Orange women's basketball, and then they had that close matchup with Clemson where they won by 83-82 in the Dome. They defeated Florida State, who was ranked 15th and 18th in the country at the time, 79-73. That was also in the Dome. They defeated Notre Dame when they saw Notre Dame again, 15th and 18th in the nation. They were ranked at the time, Notre Dame was. They beat them 79-65. And then we look at recently here, after losing to Louisville on the road, they defeated Louisville at home 73-72 inside of the Dome just a little bit ago, just a couple days ago on Sunday, February 11th. So the women's basketball team in good shape here for the Syracuse Orange as they get closer and closer to what's going to be coming up as they get set to play in the conference tournament. Those conference tournament games coming up here in just a little while, folks. Around I know certain tournaments start a little bit earlier, but that week of March, bring it to you right now, that week of March 11th is when we start to see a lot of things get rocking and rolling for the ACC for women's basketball, because the women's basketball tournament goes on here a little bit before the men's, which is typical of these conferences. The ACC women's basketball tournament, I want to look at the bracket too right now, here in the studios this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And so what it looks like as of right now, let's see here, is that the women's basketball tournament, if it happened today, trying to bring up the bracket here so we can get a look at it. Here we go. So if it were to happen today, then we would be looking at, and again, this starts on when, like I said a little bit earlier, the men start the week of March 11th. The women will be done by March 10th. So Wednesday, March 6th is the first round, and that'll carry all the way through for 5 days to Sunday, March 10th for the championship for ACC women's basketball. And looking at the current standings right now for the ACC, this is what it would look like if the ACC started today in their tournament. This is how the seeding would go. So Virginia Tech is first and Syracuse is second, which means that Virginia Tech is 11-2, Syracuse is 10-3, so very close here. That means that Syracuse would not have to play until the quarterfinals round, which means they would get to have byes in the first round and the second round, and that would put them as the number 2 seed. They would be playing the winner of the 10-15 matchup, who would then have to play the 7 seed. So if we're looking at this right now at the time that we're talking, that means that Wake Forest would be playing Georgia Tech. The winner of Wake Forest, let's see here, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yep, that's right. So I want to make sure I got it here. Georgia Tech playing up against Wake Forest. If it started today, the women's basketball team for Syracuse will be playing the winner of Georgia Tech versus Wake Forest, who would play Florida State, and then whoever won that game, whoever won the Georgia Tech Wake Forest game to move on and play Florida State, whoever won of those teams or Florida State would then play Syracuse, and Syracuse would be playing at 5 p.m. Eastern Time in the 10th game of the ACC tournament for women's basketball for the 2 seed here, and that game would be in the quarterfinals on Friday, March 8th. So right now, the women's team for Syracuse University will not have to play until the 3rd day of the ACC women's basketball tournament. So just wanted to shout them out, show them some love here, as they have worked extremely hard this season and ranked in the top 19 in the country currently. And I just don't feel like there's enough said, and I feel like I needed to say something, so I want to make sure that we did that. On the men's side of things, and good morning to my mom here. My mom is down in our second home, the second home of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, as well as the second home personally for me of the great state of Florida. So my mom is down there in Florida. Shout out to Mom and Jacqueline. Hope you're all enjoying that sunny, beautiful weather. I'm going to tell you what the temperature is here today. It is a ripe 32. It's going to be 39 degrees today, go down to 27. Tomorrow's going to be 28 for Valentine's Day. So you got to snuggle up with those that you love, folks, because it's going to be cold. So make sure you're getting close to the ones that you love, because it is going to be, it might be uncomfortably cold tomorrow. So just make sure that you are snuggling up close. But yeah, it's supposed to be 28 degrees on Wednesday. Then it's supposed to snow for potentially snow. It's a 50% chance, potentially snow this Thursday. And it could happen during the first Le Moyne women's lacrosse game in their return to Division I, which is this Thursday. So it's supposed to be 35, then 32. Supposed to snow on Thursday and Friday. Then 23, 30, 34, 40, 41, 41. Is what we're looking at. And we got lows in the teens for 5 of the next 7 days. So today at 39 is going to be the warmest day for the next week. So enjoy it. Enjoy that 39, folks. My thing is I don't mind. I don't. Like at all. You know, I might go out there and go, my neck's cold. But that's the most you're going to get from me. Like, I genuinely love that God woke me up today, so I don't have anything to complain about. I'm very grateful to the good Lord above for giving me another day and another opportunity to do the right thing. So I appreciate that, and I'm thankful for it every single day. I really am, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. I'm grateful to you, God, and I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to go out there and have some fun. Go out there and make a change. Go out there and try and make this world a better place. So if you woke up today, stop complaining. Just stop, right? If you're here, you got a chance. You got a chance to fall in love. You got a chance to spread love. You got a chance to make memories. You got a chance to chase your dreams. You got a chance to change the world. And when they say one cannot change the world, I would say, well, Jesus Christ changed the whole world. So I'm not saying any of us are even close to Jesus in the sense of being perfect, but I'm saying one person changed the world. And there's been a lot of people. I mean, we think about it: Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King Jr., Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. And I know there's controversy, but he found this area, right? And there was changes that came. So, there's been so much change and so many people that have been a part of history in such a massive way, and I think it would behoove us to understand that when you wake up in the morning, you got an opportunity to change something for better or worse, and that stands in front of you. You have to be cognizant of the fact that your words and actions can change the world. So you don't have to be a mayor, you don't have to be a governor, you don't have to be the president, you don't have to be in Parliament, you don't have to be in Congress, you don't have to be a CEO or this, that, and whatever. You can change the world. And you have to decide if you want to change it for better or worse. And I would hope to God that you're never thinking of the second one. So if you woke up today, have fun, appreciate it, and know that you can change the world. And you have to decide what that's going to look like for you and what that means to you so that you can do it in a positive and productive way. Speaking of positive and productive, I asked Syracuse fans to be positive and productive with their Syracuse Orange men's basketball team. I put up the fact that I put up a game thread for every game. I missed one game this year. So as an honest man, I'll say that I do it for every game, but I did miss a game this year. And I put it up last night for tonight's game. So I got it up early. And I said, this is our official game thread, for North Carolina. North Carolina and Syracuse. North Carolina is ranked 7th in the AP and 5th in the coaches poll nationally. They're 19-5 overall and 1st in the ACC at 11-2 in the conference. SU is unranked with a record of 15-9, 9th in the ACC and 6-7 overall in the conference. So I got a ton of comments here, and a lot of them were negative. So I said, I challenge everyone who said something negative to say something positive about your team, the Syracuse Orange. So I said to the Syracuse fans who call themselves Syracuse fans, I challenge you to be positive about one thing, about your team, right? You say Syracuse is your team, but a lot of people are so negative about their team. So I said, if this truly is your team, say something nice. Ryan said, we're going to stay within 20 points. Let's go. Mike R. said, on a positive note, this game should give a good chance for walk-ons and bench players to get into the game. Nathan said, I like our uniforms. Eric said, can fair play? And yeah, so he wants Asia Fair to play in the game from the women's team. So that was his question. Chris F. said, 40 years ago, in 1984, a week after losing to lowly Rutgers, Syracuse football faced number 1 Nebraska, who pummeled us 66-3 the year before. Final score Q17, Nebraska 9. And so that's a positive thing. And then John Bishop said, remember it well. So there's that side of it. Kelly said the women's team is playing great. And Ted W. said the fans have to be the best ever and loud and constant. Players have to peak. Can be done. Upset. And so Maryland said it's not like the Tar Heels are unbeatable, so let's go for the big W. Yep, they lost to Georgia Tech here within these last couple weeks. And, yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of positive things in here, and that's good to see. And when I challenged you to be positive about your team, that was was all so good, because I was reading negative comments, and I'm thinking to myself, like, but you're Syracuse fans. If you're Syracuse fans, then wouldn't you have something nice to say instead of walking into a game going, we suck, we're going to lose, what's the point? Then what's the point of going? Why would you buy a ticket? Why would you watch it? And why should the team even go out there? I mean, if that's the mentality, then what's the point, right? I can tell you this in utter certainty, that, like, if you're dating somebody and they want to do something, thank you, Alan. Alan said always an SU fan. I appreciate that, man. But I'm going to use an analogy here. If you're dating someone and they were really looking forward to, like, going to this movie, and they've wanted to see this movie forever, right? This has happened to me. One of my exes, we were at Destiny USA. We were going up the escalator. I had asked her for days to go see this movie. Now, I would have probably, I forget the movie that it was, but because there were so many times that I wanted to go to the movies and she didn't want to go. So I think I had asked her probably for 2 or 3 days. And she said to me, she's like, all right, babe. Like, this Wednesday, babe, I got you. We're going to go do it. Whatever it was, Wednesday or Friday. And she was like, I promise you, we're going to go see this movie. So I'm waiting impatiently to go see this movie because I wanted to see it. You're right. I mean, it was a movie I wanted to see. I'm the type of person, I love going to the movies. I would love to work on a movie someday. I've, worked with screenwriting. I have a bunch of ideas and things that I've done. I've worked with creating trailers for movies and trailers for TV shows, both things that I created. And so I love telling those, telling stories, and I love to be a part of this if God wills it. And so I don't just go to the movies, like, I study, right? I study the movies, and I see the things I like, and I see the styles I like, and I see the characters I like, and I see the worlds that I like, and I try to, create my own and put my own spin on it. So going to the movies for me is an adventure in a lot of ways, and it's very meaningful to me. And it was not meaningful to her at all. And so we're going up the escalator, and she's like, babe, don't kill me, but maybe we could just go home and, like, snuggle on the couch and just see this another time. And I'm looking at her and I'm going, I waited to see this. I took you at your word. I drove here with my gas. I put mileage on my car. I'm in the mall. I'm on the escalator about to be to the movies, and you want me to go all the way back home. How do you think I felt? And so I use that as an analogy to Syracuse, people that call themselves Syracuse fans or whatever, that rip on their team all the time. These games mean something to these young men and women. And when you come to the Dome and you boo, and you come to the Dome and you swear and you yell and you scream, I'm not saying don't have an opinion. I'm saying, would you want people to come to your child's game and scream awful, terrible things at your child, telling your child that, F this and F that, and they stink and they should quit and, kill yourself and all that stuff? Would you want to hear somebody say that to you or to your child? And I feel like people don't think about that, right? You don't think about the fact that you could be sitting there screaming and yelling and saying all this stuff, and you could be sitting next to Judah Mintz's family. You could be right there with Justin Taylor's girlfriend, sibling, whatever. You don't know who's around you. You don't know all their aunts and uncles. You don't know what their significant others look like. You don't know what, everyone that's connected to them. You don't know their best friend came up from Colorado and is sitting right there in the audience next to you. And I just find that, and I'm using Syracuse as an example because it's my hometown and I've experienced it. There's no point in coming to the game if you hate the team. And if you hate the team, then, I don't know, then start wearing a Duke jersey. Wear a North Carolina jersey. Wear a Arkansas jersey. Wear a Gonzaga jersey. But when you love your team, you have every right to be frustrated when frustrating things happen. Every right. But I'm getting very tired of going to my city and my city's event and seeing my city hate itself. Stop doing that. Stop hating who you support. If you live in this city or you love this city and you love this team, why would you come there and hate it? When I see a Spider-Man movie, and there's been 3 different Spider-Men out there on the big screen in recent history, when I see a Spider-Man movie I don't like, I don't get up in the middle of the movie and it's, F you, yeah, your mom sucks, she never should have had you, I'm not standing in the movie theater screaming, saying I hate this movie. I'm not standing outside of the movie theater saying, nobody go in, nobody go see this movie, don't you dare give money to this, it's the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. If I didn't like it, I didn't like it. I still like Spider-Man, I just didn't like the movie. And I just feel like Syracuse gets booed enough on the road, because when you're on the road, you're in somebody else's home. But when you come home, imagine that. Imagine if you came home tonight to your wife and kids and you open the door and you're like, hey, honey. And she's like, boo, you suck. And your kids are like, my daddy's stupid. I hope my daddy kills himself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what would you do? Because to the Syracuse basketball players, they're coming home. They're not at Cameron Indoor. They're not in Winston-Salem. They're not down in Miami at Coral Gables. They're not in Tallahassee. They're at home. So what would you do if you opened the door today and your wife and kids were like, you suck. Your job is stupid. You're an idiot. I hate you. I don't even love you anymore. And then your kids are like, I want a new daddy. You know what I mean? What would you do? But that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. If you're going to be a fan, then be a fan. And this is not to Syracuse fan. This is every fan. If you're going to be a fan, be a fan. If you're going to be a hateful person, then like another team. And check yourself. Because if you're out there saying the things that I heard at the last game, you need Jesus. You need some love in your life. If I'm hearing the things in this game tonight that I heard over the weekend, y'all need some Jesus. You need a hug from your mom. You need a hug from your dad or your guardian or your sister or your brother. Somebody needs to hug you. Somebody needs to just squeeze the hate out your body. Because I heard some vile things over these last few months and last year that people should not be saying in public. And if you feel comfortable saying that stuff in public, you need to go to some retreat where you can just meditate for like 7 days in silence. Because, wow. You know what I mean? And why somebody can go out in public and feel like it's okay to say that. I mean, I could sit here and break down the team and say, okay, they don't have a center. Syracuse doesn't have a true center. Syracuse needs to get guys that come in with muscle, not guys that they have to build the muscle into, but they have to go find guys that are already ready to go out there and play immediately. Georgetown's done things like that. Pitt's done things like that. Villanova's done things like that. The Big East in general does things like that. Gonzaga goes finds big burly guys. Syracuse needs to find a true center. A person who's going to play, 5 to 10 feet from the basket, who is just going to attack inside, and who has that muscle, who has had that responsibility of preparing their body for college. And I'm not saying that the guys that are there haven't. I'm saying that the guys that Syracuse typically gets are skinnier, that have to put on a lot of weight and put on a lot of muscle, and it takes a lot of time. And if you're going to bring in a guy like Peter Carey, who's on the skinnier side, then get him ready. I mean, Peter Carey didn't play last year. We saw him a little bit this year. He's done some good things. We've seen he's agile and for a big guy can move in certain spaces, but he's not getting enough experience. I think that, he could put some more muscle on. And so there's kind of off the court, on the court things that need to change, that need to happen so that he can develop himself. And that's Alan Griffin's side. So Alan Griffin developing him. He develops him, get him out on the court. Listen, you got nothing to lose at this point. You don't have a center. You have Munir and Peter. That's it. And for some odd reason, they're not playing Munir, who can block shots. So if you're not going to put in Mu and you're not going to put in Peter, then you're going to put it on Malik. And if you put it on Malik, then Malik can't be Malik. And Malik is one of the only guys that rebounds at times. And if he's your only rebounder and there's no help underneath, then Malik's doing all the work, which is going to piss off Malik because he shouldn't have to do it by himself. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science, right? And almost everything podcast said you can build muscle, but you can't teach talent. Absolutely. But my thing is, it doesn't look like they're building muscle, right? So it's like that strength and conditioning side. You got to get that going so that you can be ready for that. And you can't teach talent. No, you can't. But you can take that talent and you can direct it. You can take that talent and you can mold what you're looking for and help to grow. So there's a coaching aspect of this. There's a playing aspect of this. There's a fact that they really need to go recruit multiple centers after this season. And there's the reality that I think Quadir should be the point guard. Judah should be the shooting guard. It puts him back in more comfortable positions, gets the ball out of Judah's hands so he's not dribbling down the clock. Q is the guy who has the better vision as of right now and makes the better passes. Judah likes to shoot. So, I mean, it's kind of right in front of you. Make the changes. But I'm talking about this and how I want to see Syracuse win. I want to see Syracuse improve. So maybe move the chess pieces around the board a little bit and see if this can work. But absolutely, positively, do not go to the game and scream awful things, especially when you're wearing a jersey of the team you're screaming at. To me, that's just unheard of. If I was a child watching like a Jacksonville Jaguars fan scream hateful things at Jaguars players, I'd be like, Dad, why is he doing that? And he'd be like, oh, son, some people do that. And I'm like, but he's wearing a Jaguars shirt. So he's like yelling at himself. You know what I mean? That's don't do that. So go to the Dome. If you go to the Dome tonight, go and have fun. Don't walk into the Dome going, oh, we're going to lose. We suck. I hate us. I don't even know why I'm here. Don't do that. Because if you did that on a date, like I said back in my situation, that person doesn't want to go on a date with you. Imagine that. Imagine going on a date with someone and going, I don't know why I'm here. I don't really think I'm going to have fun. This is stupid. Oh my gosh, that person can't wait to see you tomorrow. If I went out on a date and somebody was like, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't even know why I'm doing this. I don't even really think I'm interested in you. I'd be like, cool, have a great night. Goodbye. Simple. So the Dome has not filled up like I've been used to. The Dome has not had the support like I've been used to. You got a Tuesday night game. If you got the means to get over there, if you got the money to get over there, go and support the team. Go and have some fun. There's plenty of basketball going on. You got Binghamton. You got Lemoyne. You got Syracuse. You got Cortland. You got Cornell. You have Ithaca. You have Colgate. You have Hofstra, and so on and so forth. So make your way out to a game, support, and be positive. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, Nick Monroe will be joining me picture-in-picture live right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years. And is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognize that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Happy to be here with you Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and I am proud to be picture-in-picture live on the broadcast here, coming in with the wonderful Nick Monroe. Nick Monroe here with me. Nick Monroe spent many years with the Syracuse Orange and has since moved on of the last couple seasons now with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And after Syracuse had gone to the New Era Pinstripe Bowl, went over to Minnesota to work under PJ Fleck and is your co-defensive coordinator as well as your cornerbacks coach. And he's here with us this morning. Mr. Monroe, how we doing?
Good morning, Dan. Doing really well. How are you?
Doing very well. So, I got to ask you this, Nick, because I think about this all the time when I think of you. You're known for being like the recruiting guy, right? You're known for being that guy that builds those relationships, that builds those connections. I don't hear any bad things about you on the recruiting trail. I've always heard that, the student athletes love you. They love the way you go about it. They love the way that you make them feel. Bring me into what is the secret sauce of why you get through to so many student athletes?
Well, first of all, Dan, I got to say it's really cool to be back here hanging out with you. It seems like it was just yesterday. We did this right when I was leaving.
Yeah.
But there is no secret sauce. And this is as real as it gets, man. I'm telling you, it is all about treating them like you'd want your own sons to be treated. It really is. As I get older, Dan, the glitz and the glamour and the sizzle and the snap and the pop, they don't matter. What matters is substance. And I really believe in surrounding myself with people with good hearts and good souls. And that's what I believe I got. I got to believe I got a heart of gold and a soul from heaven. And that's what I do. And I listen, that doesn't mean we're soft. That doesn't mean we don't hold young men accountable. That doesn't mean we don't demand a lot and expect a lot.
Oh, and we seem to have lost Nick here for a second, so try and bring Nick back in momentarily. So we are talking here with Nick Monroe live on the broadcast, and we seem to have lost his feed here momentarily, but we'll look to get him back. Nick Monroe, once again, co-defensive coordinator and cornerbacks coach for the Minnesota Golden Gophers inside of the Big Ten. So we're looking to have him come back in here. Started off the conversation great. Had a lot of wonderful things we were talking about here. So let's see if we can bring Nick back in here, and we'll get him back set.
Unbelievable. Sorry, Dan. Sorry about that.
No, you're okay. Let's make sure that we get you back in here. And I know you were making a great point here. You're talking about being around.
No,
go ahead.
It just you go back and you still have to hold them accountable. You still have to demand and expect a lot. And, I think in today's world, sometimes a lot of different people, for whatever reasons, don't want to roll up their sleeves and go the old-fashioned blue-collared way and just grind it out. And unfortunately, that's just the way I was raised, and I believe in that. But there's a right and a wrong way to how you treat people. There's a right and a wrong way in how you deal with people, and there's a right and a wrong way with how you just talk to people. And that's just something that I've always done. Like I said, there's an old-fashioned saying that's what stood the test of time, right? Live by the golden rule, and that golden rule is do unto others as you'd have do unto you. And you know what? There's a reason it's what stood the test of time. But I still do enjoy the recruiting piece, and I enjoy watching these young men grow. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy watching. It's amazing the relationships over the last 21 years that I've made, that I've been blessed enough to make. All the different spots: Allegheny College, Colgate University, Bowling Green, Syracuse. It's amazing on a game day or even during the Super Bowl, the texts that I'll get from former players, and it's just like, wow, you know what? We really did have a chance to impact, a young life and help them. It's kind of cool deal.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of things that you said, there's a right way and a wrong way of how you treat people. We're,
Right.
we're living in a society now, big picture, where I just saw somebody say this yesterday. They said, the younger generation is, they look at truth and they say, well, what is truth? Does truth even exist? Is there such thing as truth? There could be many truths. And I'm kind of just wondering how we got here, because to me it is black and white, right? There's a way that you treat people, there's a way that you don't. There's kindness versus rudeness. There's humility versus selfishness. There's going toward your dreams and putting the work in, and there's expecting the work to be done for you. To me, it's not that complicated, but we are living in this society where there are no, some people, there are no rules, because what are rules, and who created the rules? And I didn't create the rules, and if they didn't make them, then maybe I don't have to, or if I didn't make them, I don't have to follow them. How do we get back? Because you mentioned God, you mentioned faith, you mentioned there's a way to treat people, you mentioned being around good souls and good hearts. I agree with absolutely everything you say, but Nick, how do we make sure that that's the focus? Because people have seemingly, not everybody, but some have forgotten about God, forgotten about faith, forgotten about community, forgotten about morals and values, and everyone kind of, there's people out there that kind of live by their own rules. They make their own set of rules. They break somebody, somebody could go out there and steal something and say, well, I'm not stealing. I'm taking something that I didn't have money for, and that's because the government charges too much, and you should be happy that I'm taking it because I need it in order to stay alive, and I shouldn't have to pay for it because it's not my fault that I don't make enough money. There seems to be this like twisted reality of everything's wrong is right and right is wrong if I can argue it that way. How do we
Right.
how do we fix that?
Well, that is a loaded
It is.
question and loaded answer. But I would say the short of it is this: all of us have to be fishers of men, right? Fishers of young men and women, because I really believe that the only way we can do it is we've got to somehow impact the youth, because that's the next wave, right? And I'm talking that high school on down. We've got to implement the values and morals and the ways, that how we treat people and how we love one another and how we deal with everybody. And I guess, there's still some validity to coaches still have that possibility to affect people like that, right? I mean, you look at all the different people that can impact somebody. I mean, it starts with leadership, right? Like,
Yeah.
of a company, the president, the VP, the CEO. You look at schools, right? The principals, the vice principals, the teachers. You look at college athletics. The athletic director, the head coaches, on to the assistants. I mean, I guess it's people's whose voices can truly impact, and where there's some merit to where people will listen. I think that's where it's got to start. It starts with the leadership, and that goes through everything, all aspects of life. So, the short of it is this: we've got to be able to, implement, the good and take away the evil, and implement the love and take away the hate with our youthful generation, because that's what's going to grow and help change this whole world right now.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Places of, leadership, parents, guardians,
Mm-hmm.
teachers, that there's really what you put into these young brains who don't know any better. What you put in is I mean, you kind of reap what you sow. So if you put something in there that's not great, then you might not like what you're going to get from that, what you're going to reap from that. So, At the same time, if you put in love, what do they say? Love is taught, hate is taught. So we have an obligation of what we teach, so we shall reap. You have Psalms 116 on your profile. I want to read it here. I love the Lord, for he heard my voice. He heard my cry for mercy. Because he turned his ear to me, I will call on him as long as I live. The cords of death entangled me. The anguish of the grave came over me. I was overcome by distress and sorrow. Then I called on the name of the Lord. Lord, save me. Why'd you choose that?
Wow. Now you just hit me, Dan. So a lot of people know this. A lot of people don't know this, and I don't think you know this. So this is something that'll hit you hard. This past May, on May 10th, I was on the road spring recruiting. I was down in South Florida, and I was driving to see a young man, a transfer,
Yeah.
and I was driving, and all of a sudden, as I was passing an 18-wheel truck, out of nowhere, he just swerved and hit me, and I flipped 4 to 6 times. It was like slow motion. Every roll, every turn, I was just like, oh, Lord, please, 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 please. And I landed upright. The truck driver who hit me came, that tried to get me out of the truck. He couldn't get me out of the truck. The doors were welded shut. The rental car I was in started smoking. He was trying to peel back and break the windshield to get me out. At that point in time, I kind of snapped to my senses, and I was like, all right. And I jumped right through the windshield to get out. I looked over at the car, and I was I looked like a zombie. I was completely covered in blood. I was red. I was bleeding everywhere. And as I looked at myself in my reflection in the mirror, I was like, whew, I'm not going to make it out of this one. I'm done. And there's 2 older ladies who came to my rescue. They came with the truck driver to help me. Long story longer. No one knew where we were because we were kind of out in the sticks. And I was on a Bluetooth phone call with a good friend of mine, and it was still connected after this horrific wreck. And he was like, send me a pin of where you're at so I can get the ambulance there. Right away, the 2 ladies said, you're married. And they're like, we need to call your wife. And I said, yeah, okay. And they got the ambulance came, and basically they called my wife for me to say goodbye to her. And then they said, have you ever been in a helicopter? I said, no. Like, well, you're about to. And they lifelined me to a hospital, to a major trauma center there in Palm Beach County. And I was in the hospital for, a week. I was in Florida for another week after that because I couldn't fly. I had over 250 stitches. I got a new eyelid, rejuvenated eyelid here. I had a shattered clavicle, a torn rotator cuff, multiple, degrees of concussions. I was in bad shape. And honestly, Dan, I didn't think I was going to make it. I was talking to the good Lord. I said, all right, Lord, you tell me what you want. You want me up there? You want me down here? And I'm good with whatever. Just, can we please do it kind of fast? Because I didn't drag out, but it was, that was the most difficult thing I'd been through in my life. And that was the scariest thing I'd been through in my life. And, I remember when I called my wife, because I bug her all the time when I'm on the road, and she was like, yes, what do you want now? And I was like, listen, I don't want to scare you, but I don't know how this thing's going to go. And Coach Fleck was awesome. He flew her down that same night. She stayed with me, and it was a scary deal. But during that time, just, reading different verses and whatnot, that verse really hit me because I stared death down that day. And quite honestly, Dan, I don't think many people make it out of that car accident. I mean, my car flipped over 4 to 6 times. You should see pictures. I'll send you some pictures later. It's quite it's horrific, but if anybody is, again, I'm not stressing upon anybody what you need to believe and what you don't need to believe, but I can just tell you this. I think everybody needs to believe in something greater than themselves. And that day, May 10th, that was a scary day. And quite honestly, I'm so blessed right now to be here. I'm so blessed that I'm back. I mean, I had multiple surgeries. I can't get through airport security anymore because I got too much metal in my body. But I've got everything back. I can even throw a football again. Not quite as good as I once could, but close, really close. And my energy's back, my juice is back, and I really am. I have a whole new outlook on life. I don't ever feel sorry for myself. I don't ever feel, the need to complain or deflect anything. I wake up each day thankful and grateful and blessed, and I do whatever I can to impact others. And I use that story really to help others whenever they're going through a really tough time, because again, I know there's a lot of tough things that people will go through, but that was a very challenging, difficult thing for me, especially being on a new job. The way recruiting is now, it's just like, oh man, what am I going to do now? And, through that rest of that month of May and June, it was tough. It was really, really tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had no idea. And I'm sitting here thinking about a lot of things right now.
Right.
One of them being the fact that I don't write down what we're going to talk about.
Right.
I don't have a notepad that says, you got to ask Nick this. And inside of me, I just go where God leads me. And you talked about God, and you mentioned that. So I leaned into that. And then I saw the Psalm 116, and I thought, okay, well, we're talking about God, so what does this mean to you?
Right.
And that provokes you to tell that story where I'm going to tell people right now, like you said it, and I'm going to say this, Nick, and I mean this with love to everybody that's watching and listening. I am so tired of the PSA. That, like, I believe in God, and I come on the show and I'm like, hey, if you believe in God, great. If you don't, you can listen. If you're Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, and I go through this whole thing, and I'm like, you know what? Just watch how I act. I've never discriminated against anybody, said you can't listen to the show, you can listen to the show. I believe in this, you have to believe in that. Listen, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe in the Holy Trinity. I get down on my knees for one thing and one thing only, and that's God. I accept people for who they are. And that's their journey, and that's their story, and that's their walk with God. But I am so tired of the PSA of it. I believe in God, and I'm proud to. And I can honestly say that God worked through our conversation today. He was literally paving the steps. And I'm sitting here talking, and you're sitting here talking, yet he was moving. And if somebody is watching or listening this right now and doesn't believe in God, I challenge you to find how the heck we got to where we got to when I didn't know your story before I asked the question.
Yeah, no doubt. And like you said, nobody is, it's not a, at the end of the day, what is God? He's love, right? So we're going to love everybody, and we're going to treat everybody with respect, and we're going to do everything we can to help and nurture and give them a better life. And I just, it's just talking about that story, though, it brings me back. Coach Babers called me when I was in the hospital, and I still have in my man cave in our new house, I still have the note that he sent me. Him and Katie and Brad and Roy and everybody there sent me a whole thing of flowers in the hospital down there. And it's awesome. I still have the little note that came with it. I keep it in my man cave downstairs, and it says, from the Ohana, hey, swag daddy, get better soon. I just, man, there's so many good people there in Syracuse. I've just, again, what a cool life, and how blessed I am to still be here to tell this story. But, I look at the friendships and the amazing people that I know there. It just, even after our bowl game this year, we flew back the night after our bowl game, and, my wife's from upstate New York. So we went back and saw family, saw a lot of friends, saw a lot of people back that way. Heck, I went and saw Coach Babers. It was just, it's what a cool fraternity, and what a cool story. It all ties together, like you said.
Yeah. And I just find it so poetic and awesome that he said, hey, swag daddy, get better. So.
It is great. It really is. And I'm so happy for him, and how he's got a chance to go back and kind of go in full circle back to the University of Arizona, where he really, planted his roots way back early in his career. And now he's got a chance to go back there and do something special again. It's just, hey, listen, let me tell you something. Dino Babers is a phenomenal human being. I mean, you talk about a heart of gold and a soul from heaven. That guy is, he's a real dude. I love that guy. So yeah, no question.
Well, and that it was kind of something I was thinking about today is, so many people and I said it, I said it a couple days ago, and I think I said it to my dad. I know I was talking about it, and my dad and I talked about it. I think we talked about it yesterday, but I live in this world where I know coaches and players get attacked, right?
Yeah.
But I said to my dad, I go, broadcasters too, commentators, show hosts, officials. Nobody's safe from the hate and the negativity and from people speaking for you and twisting your words around and taking clips of things and going, oh, this is what you said, this is not what you said. And it happened to Dino all the time. Now, Dino and I have a very good relationship, and I always, kind of like full disclosure, schools allow some media outlets in. They don't allow other media outlets in, even when the coach wants to talk to that one media outlet. And so Dino and I didn't get a lot of time together because I got blocked. Right. I just pray to God, and I'm like, I want Dino to know what I'm about. I want him to see, we have things in common. And somehow, some way, which I call God, Dino and I never had those opportunities to sit down and do this and that when they were giving it to other places. And he just figured out the type of man I am. And I figured out the type of man he is. And he said to me one time, it was at the spring game, he looked at me and he goes, I like you. And I was like, okay.
That sounds exactly like him too. I know you're telling the truth. Just like it.
He goes, I like you. And I go, okay, I like you too, coach. And he goes, no, he goes, do you know that? He's like, do you know that I like you? And I said, I think so. And he said, watch this. He said, I go back and I watch your stuff. He said, I don't watch a lot of people's stuff. I don't pay a lot of attention to a lot of people's stuff. He's like, there's a few people. He said, I go back and I watch your stuff. And I don't just watch your stuff. I watch your old stuff. He goes, you know what I was watching last night? I was watching your conversation with Taj Harris when he was transferring. And he talked to me about it. He goes, see, I was watching it. And he looked at me and he said, if they let me do what I wanted to do here, I would have been on your show anytime you asked me. He's like, I want you to know I like what you do. I appreciate what you do. And anything that I can do for you that they would let me do, I would do it without question. And I never forgot that he said that to me.
Yeah, he's a good man. Good. A great role model, I think. A man that stands for his faith. A man that's a fantastic husband. An unbelievable father. I mean, he's a great role model for me. I was with him for 9 years. I had a lot of time with him on the road. We attempted to solve a lot of world problems. I can tell you that. We sure gave it a run. That's for sure.
So you had your time with him. You had your time with PJ Fleck. Now, before we get into Minnesota, what do you want people to know about Syracuse in that era? Because you were one of the coaches that was there throughout, right? There was so many coaching changes. The coaching staff never stayed 100% the same, but you were one of the people that was loyal to Dino. Dino was loyal to you. Why were you so loyal to each other? And what can you tell us about what was being done in the background at Syracuse? Because again, so many people speak for people. I want to know, why were you loyal to each other? And what was happening behind the scenes? What were the victories that we didn't see?
Oh man, okay. Well, number one, the reason I was loyal to him was because I believed in him. I respected him as a man. He was who he was. He didn't change. I was with him at Bowling Green and then to Syracuse. He didn't change. He was the same guy. He stood for his faith, his family, in football. And again, as I get older, everything in this world has good and bad. There's always a flip side to the coin. He stayed the same. And I just felt like, you know what? Because listen, Dan, I think my wife and I counted it up recently. I think it was like 11 or 12 opportunities to leave when I was there. There was a lot of opportunities to leave. and for, quote unquote, bigger, whatever, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, the grass isn't always greener. I believed in his vision. I believed how he cared about the kids. And I thought that was more important than anything. And, we worked hard, but, when we had time off, we were able to enjoy our lives and have some balance. He allowed me to be a husband. He allowed me to be a father. That was important to me. I'm not saying that other coaches and other leaders don't allow you to do that, but you got to make sure you do your homework, right? And find out who are the guys that really practice what they preach. Because there's some guys in this business that you don't get to do that. It's all at the office and it's all night at the office, and that's just the way it is. And that's not how I wanted to live. So I think he was loyal to me because he thought the same thing in me. I believed in his vision. My goal every day from a work standpoint for him was to make his job just a little bit easier. I never wanted to make his job harder. I always wanted to make it a little bit easier in every aspect of the program. That's what I attempted to do every single day. You talk about the victories behind the closed doors. I would tell you this. I still believe Dino Babers believed in the old school approach. I still believe he's a blue collar guy. He's a roll up your sleeves kind of guy, a grit, not glamour guy. And, if you came out to our practices and you came out into the weight room and you just were around the kids every day, there was still an edge to them. There was still a toughness to them. And I think that was a big thing behind the closed doors. I think those kids were prepared to go out after they were done playing football and survive in the real world, just because there was an edge to them. There was a toughness to them still. I know that, what was it? In 18, obviously we had a great season. And then in, 22, we had almost an unbelievable season. It was a good season. Yeah. But it's such a storied in history of a great tradition there. It is magical walking into that dome, on game day. It is a very surreal feeling, just knowing all the legends that had played there, just knowing all the people that have worn that uniform, the community, the fans, the administration. There's a pride there, orange and blue, and it's a very cool deal. But I think that was probably the biggest behind the door, behind the door scene type of deal. There is the fact that there was still an edge and a toughness to those kids, that they were ready to take on anything in the real world and have a chance to be successful and get through the trials and tribulations of this little thing called life.
Awesome look inside and just a window inside of everything at Syracuse. I thank you for. Before I let you go, as I'm not surprised this has flown by, and I'm going to have you back. So I'll just go through the channels again and be like, hey, I need to talk to Nick next week. There's a lot of things we didn't hit on yet. But
absolutely.
But I do want to get to this. PJ Fleck, you made the decision after the 2022 season. Like you said, there's 11 or 12 offers that came your way while you're at Syracuse. You didn't take them. You took the one with Minnesota. You and I spoke right after it because it was unique, right? You're at the New Era Pinstripe, well, not the New Era, the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl, and you're at the Pinstripe Bowl. You play Minnesota, and then you go to Minnesota, and I'm sitting here going like, what did PJ Fleck, when he was shaking hands afterward, go, hey, Nick, you know what's up, yeah. So why did you decide after all those years, 9 years with Dino, and believing in everything and believing that he does it the right way and blue collar and his faith and the Ohana and everything, what was it about Minnesota and PJ Fleck? Like you said, do your homework, know the coach, know what they're about. Why did you decide to try a path with another coach after spending so many years with somebody that you trust, that allowed you to be a father and a husband? What was it about PJ Fleck that made you think, I need to take this path?
Yeah, that's a good question. And because I don't want to sound like I'm a hypocrite, So there's really three things, right? Number one is this is home. I mean, where we live now, I'm 12 minutes from my parents. I'm within 15 minutes from all the guys that were in my wedding, and I was in theirs. I'm 15 minutes from the high school I went to. Yeah. This home. I grew up here. I've been gone for 21 years. What a special deal. I haven't had a chance to come home here. Number two was My dad was a football coach, and he actually spent 4 years at the University of Minnesota. I was in junior high, just going into high school when he was here. And how cool is that I get a chance to come back? I mean, I was speaking at the Glacier Clinic this past weekend, and I've got coaches coming up to me, oh my gosh, I just realized that, you're Marty's son, and what a cool deal. I could know your dad, 20, 30 years ago, like just a very neat deal. And then number three is this, listen, I've known Coach Fleck for years. I've had a relationship with him for a lot of years, and I've always respected and admired him. He's always had tremendous energy. He's always had a tremendous vision. I've always thought he has that old school blue collar approach to him as well, which I respect. And that's what part I want to be. I want to be a part of something like that, because I think that's what's right with the world. I think that's what's right with college football. I don't think there's ever such thing as an easy way or a shortcut. I think that's the wrong way. And, I still remember the very first time I met Coach Fleck. It was a Saturday afternoon, late Saturday afternoon down in South Florida, and there was a practice going on. And guess what? The only two college coaches that were at that practice on a Saturday afternoon was him and myself. And I was just like, he was at Rutgers at the time. And I'm like, how cool is that? Here's two guys on a Saturday that could be just doing whatever they want to be doing. And they're both working in touch with them. We've always, had, I think, a mutual respect for one another. And I've always thought it'd be really cool to work for him. He's always somebody I've respected and admired, and thought he's had tremendous success and running a program. And I always wanted to be a part of that as well.
Well, we look at this schedule for 2024 as you being the co-defensive coordinator and the cornerbacks coach. And now that there's a West Division feel to the Big Ten, we have Oregon, we have USC, we have UCLA, we have Washington. Realignment has been so unique. And so you have on Minnesota's schedule in 2024, you have North Carolina, Rhode Island, Nevada in non-conference play. You have Iowa, you have Michigan on the schedule, you have USC in the conference now, UCLA in the conference now, Maryland, Illinois, Rutgers, Penn State, and Wisconsin. So you're going to be playing a couple of those West Coast teams, one at home, one on the road in early October. What are your thoughts on all this? Because realignment has, it's wily right now. And now you as a defensive coordinator, you have to prepare for teams that used to be non-conference games being in the conference. You have to prepare for coaches and schemes and different things on the offensive side. The Big Ten now has 18 institutions.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Got to adapt, baby. It's no different than the last. I look at, even when I got into this thing back in the day, people would prepare for two backs. That's how I always started things, with your run fits, two backs. Then the spread came into play, right? Then the whole RPO thing came into play. It's all reciprocal. It all goes into circles. It all comes around. And you know what? It's just part of the way that the college football landscape, you got to adapt to it. And honestly, it's kind of fun. Like, it really is. Like, it's not the same old, just same team every day, every year, blah, 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 and bland. Like, you got to do your homework in the off season. You got to have multiple answers. You got to have multiple curveballs to throw at people. And, what a cool deal. The fact that now, you don't just stay kind of in the Midwest. You get to go out West and travel to some storied programs. I mean, look at what Washington did this year. Oregon was right there, beckoning at the college football playoff. I mean, USC and UCLA, like, I think it's really exciting. Now, granted, I don't know much about the West Coast game. Like, I haven't. Those are that's like the conference I know least about. So obviously we got to do our homework. But the other thing, that I think changes too is now with players, your roster changes so much. Don't know who's there. Coaching changes are inevitable, right? So it's just like a lot depends on what you can see on a spring game this spring, right? And then, the good news is what'd you say? USC's game 4 or 5 and UCLA's game 5 or 6. So at least we get a few games on them and we can see a few things of what they're actually doing before, it's not right out of game 1 there. So that's a positive.
Yeah, taking it from there. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. you and I will obviously keep in touch, and we will have to do this again sometime soon.
Yes, sir.
But
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for sharing your story, and I'm going to ask you for something. You could say absolutely not here at the end, though. But can we say a little prayer together? Are you okay with that?
Absolutely. Go right ahead, Dan.
All right. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, I want to thank you today for this opportunity, for once again blessing another conversation here on the show. I want to thank you for honesty and integrity and humility and kindness that you have put around me in my life so very much. I pray and I hope that everybody watching and listening has positivity come their way, that they chase their dreams and understand that if they chase them with you, they won't only catch them, they will have more than they could have ever asked for. I thank you for taking care of Nick, and as that car rolled, that your hand was around it the whole time, that he knows that he sees that, and that you have created miracles and continue to create miracles like this to this day. Keep us healthy, keep us happy, keep us safe, guide us and guard us, teach us the lessons we need to learn so that we can sustain ourselves over time. Teach us how to fish, and don't just hand us a fish. And thank you for the life that you've given me. Thank you for my friendship with Nick, and thank you for once again putting your blessing on a conversation that absolutely changed my life. I appreciate you. I love you. And I follow you wherever you go. Amen.
Amen.
Of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Great stuff, Dan. Really appreciate your time. Appreciate you having me on today, and I look forward to visiting with you again soon, okay?
Yeah. Well, after our conversation today, Nick, I already liked you, but now I feel like I need to get my butt out to Minnesota and spend some quality time with you.
Come on out.
All right. Well, we'll set something up. You and I will talk again, but seriously, thank you for being so open and honest about your story and sharing that. I hope you know that that's going to change a life out there. And really, just thank you for the way that you've treated me. I really do appreciate that.
Appreciate who you are, Dan. Don't ever change. Keep being you. And God bless you, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
God bless you, too. You take care out there.
Thanks, Dan. You too.
Right,
bye-bye.
Take care. That coming from Nick Monroe once again here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. You never know the conversations you're going to have. But what does God say? I have a plan for you, a plan to prosper you, right? A plan to help you, not hurt you. So I am absolutely, positively, I'm not surprised in God, because God does this all the time in my life, and I'm very thankful for that. But I am, this conversation, I can feel it in my chest. I can feel it in my heart. Man, when God tells you, like, I got you, boy. I got you, girl. There's something miraculous about that. And here's the car. He just sent it to me. That's what the car looked like. There's another picture. This was the car. And now he's sitting here talking with me. Y'all can believe whatever you want to believe, but I'm telling you right now, God is the realest thing that there is. In a world full of fake, in a world full of people just saying things and doing things and manipulating things, there is one truth. There is one truth. He didn't get out of that accident and is alive today because of money, because of clout, because of status, because of who he was in the car with, because who he knows. When that car was flipping, it wasn't about what material things he has, how much money he has, what power he has. It was the power of God. Right? When God says, I woke you up because I'm not done with you yet. I'm not done with you. And what people don't understand is people that pass away, God's not done with them either. God's never done with you. God doesn't throw us away when he finds a new toy. He's never done with you. He's never done with me. And today I got to really listen because he came to me today. And I asked him yesterday to do that. And that's how fast he works. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. Nick Monroe, pleasure. We'll be back with Dennis Hennigan right after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I am honored and privileged to have my next guest here with me on the broadcast, and it is truly an honor and a privilege to be here with Dennis Hennigan. Dennis and I have gotten to spend time together over the years, and I've gotten to learn a lot of things about him. What you realize when it comes to being in a position of speaking with someone who is an official or who has officiated is the fact that everybody thinks they know the job of the official, but the official, it's a very difficult job. It's a thankless job. It's a job where I don't think that people really take the time to understand how hard it is. And Dennis said something off the air to me just now that I want him to say of how officials are judged, because I don't want to take this away from what he said. I want it to come from him. But before we do that, let me bring him in here. Dennis Hennigan, Supervisor of Instant Replay for Big 12 College Football. Dennis, how are you?
I'm doing well, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Dennis, here to kind of get things started, I would love for you to share what you said to me in your words on how officials are judged.
Yes, I mean we were talking about evaluating or judging specifically the Super Bowl game from Sunday night, and what I said was that we are at a stage now where officials are judged and evaluated in high definition, slow motion, with multiple views, and the ability when you're sitting in your home to go back and look at the play several times. Obviously, in real time, the official on the field does not have that luxury and makes his or her decision based on the one view they have, obviously ground level.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting how we decide whether or not the officials did a good job when we do not replicate the setting that they're in when they make the call.
So do you wish that if we could go back in time and put the genie back in the bottle, do you wish the technology was given to officials and that people at home had to just wait, as opposed to people being given the technology of seeing 19 different things, and here's a drone's view of it, and here's the overhead camera, and here's a camera in the end zone, here's the other camera, and here's a camera that was on, the body camera on the official. I mean, you feel like, and obviously I'm making some things up with body cameras and head cameras and all this, but what I'm saying is do you almost wish that the officials were given technology that was above and beyond what people saw at home, so that people at home weren't trying to essentially do the job of an official? I'm not saying take anything away from people. I'm saying the officials, in my opinion, should have the best, highest technology. They should have more than the people have at home, because it's their job to get this call right. It's not the job for the guy on the couch to get the call right. So do you almost wish that the technology would have come to the officiating crew and not to, people buying televisions at Target?
Well, we do use the technology in officiating now, and it allows us, and this is through the instant replay system that has evolved over the past several years, and that technology allows us to correct officiating mistakes that previously went uncorrected, and I'm fully in favor of that. The ultimate goal in officiating is to get the call right, and to not have an incorrect call impact the outcome of a game. So I'm fully in favor of officials using whatever technology is available. We aren't at a stage where judgment calls are, for the most part, judgment calls are not reviewed in replay. But I think we're using technology more and more in officiating, again, with the ultimate goal in mind of getting the call right.
Well, and that's the thing is, I mean, I know obviously your technology has grown. I know the technology of what people can see at home has grown. What my thing is here, what my case is here, is do you think that the officials, like you said, being judged in high definition, slow motion, and multiple angles at home when somebody's watching on TV, do you think the officials have enough? With you being able to see, I mean, you've been on the ground level as an official, you've been the coordinator of all officiating for a conference, and now you're supervising instant replay for the Big 12. You seeing this from so many different angles, do you think the officials have enough to make the right call? Do you think that there's something that needs to be added? Because, obviously watching something in slow motion, watching something on high definition, watching something with all of the angles that CBS will give you, or Fox will give you, or NBC, or ESPN, or whoever and whatever, do you think the officials have enough? Because you're trying to make this call. Number one, you're trying to make it right on the field. Can't make it right on the field and you review it, then you only want to take a couple minutes out of the game. The game is long enough. You don't want to be standing on the sideline for 5-10 minutes trying to figure things out, sending things, out to, like in your case, out to Dallas to instant replay. You want to be able to make a decision in a timely manner that you think is clear, agreeable, of everybody involved in the officiating crew, and then get it back out there on the field. do you think you have enough to make a decision in a timely, efficient manner with the technology? Do you think that there's enough there to make the decision within a small amount of time?
Yes, we do. The question, though, is how far are you willing to go? How much money do you want to spend in pursuit of the perfectly officiated game?
Right.
And can you ever get there? And you made mention of the time element. College games now, I think average 320, maybe 325, somewhere in that range at the FBS level. Do we want to extend that? I think most would say no. And so do we want to change the college system to be more like the NFL system, which for the most part is a challenge system? So that, to me, that's the issue, Dan. How far do you want to go in chasing this unattainable perfect game from an officiating standpoint? Because the game will always be officiated by 6, 7, or 8 human beings, and when judgment calls are involved, as they are in officiating all sports, there will be disagreements.
Yeah. And you've been here with Dennis Hennigan, once again, Supervisor of Instant Replay for Big 12 College Football, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora this morning. When you and I met, you were the ACC coordinator of officiating for college football and overseeing all of the elements of an entire conference. When you go back to that job where you're the guy that's getting the phone call, right? You're the person that is going, if Dabo Sweeney thought that a play was wrong, if somebody out there, if Dino Babers saw something that he didn't like, if Mac Brown was confused on something, you're the person that's getting that phone call as the supervisor of football officiating for an entire conference. Going back to that time, you said, how much money do you want to spend to get the perfect game, the perfect call, which you're never going to have perfect because you always have judgment because you have human beings. Going to that specific job, what did you take away from that when you are the person that is having to field all these phone calls, look at all this tape when they send the tape in, and kind of saying, okay, you know what? You're right. You got a case here, or somebody where you're like, hey, I'm sorry, you don't. Bring me into that job itself, because you have 14 member institutions, you have 14 coaching staffs, and then you multiply those 14 teams by all the games that they have. That is no easy task for somebody to do.
No, but what coaches recognize, just as coaches and players don't coach or play perfect games, they recognize that officials are not perfect, but what they're looking for is consistency in a game. And many times coaches said to me, just tell us how the game is going to be called, and we will coach it that way. And as long as you're consistent, we can live with that. And that was the main message from coaches, just to be consistent and to manage the game properly, particularly the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game.
And when you talk about that, there is that reality of a game's called a certain way, and then there's heightened emotion with everybody, and officials don't want to get the play wrong. Obviously, players know, hey, it's coming down to the wire. Coaches know we got to win this game. So, and especially in college football, where if you lose a game, you could be out of everything 2 weeks into the season. So when there's all that heightened emotion, you making mention of the fact of that last couple minutes of the game. When you've gone back and you've looked at officials, right, and you've looked at how they've done throughout a game, kind of what they've created, are they consistently inconsistent? Are they different in the last couple of minutes? What have you seen in those scenarios? Do you see an official stay pretty consistent down the stretch, or do you think that there's officials where you've had to kind of call them up and say, hey, you've called the game a certain way for this long, and then within the last 2 to 3 minutes, you're calling more of this, you're changing a little bit of that. Do you feel like the last 2 to 3 minutes of the game, sometimes there are officials out there that get caught up in the moment, so to speak?
Well, the better officials certainly don't, and sometimes you'll hear people say, it's the last minute, it's the last 2. Don't make that call at the end of the game.
Right.
And my approach, and I think most officials' approach, has always been, if it's a foul in the first quarter, it's a foul in the fourth quarter. And you'll hear the phrase sometimes, the officials swallow their whistle the last minute of a game, and you cannot officiate that way. It's not fair. It's not fair to the teams. You need to be consistent, not only week to week, but you need to be consistent within a game itself. The fourth quarter, the last minute of the game should be officiated the same way as the first minute of the game.
Yeah, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I do want to go to something that you and I were talking about off the air, because it's something that I hear a lot. And that is, and even when you don't hear it, you kind of feel it. The notion of there's holding on every single play. And it's something that there's people believe this. They say there's holding on every play. It's just how egregious is it? It's just, can the official see it? It's, everybody's doing it, but are they doing it to this extent? Or this official only calls it for this team, but they don't call it on this other team. We hear all the time that when it comes to holding, it's happening all the time. It's I shouldn't say we hear it all the time, but there's the notion of it's happening all the time. Why don't they call this? Why do they call that, not call this? When we bring up the Kansas City Chiefs, there's a bunch of videos out there of, well, they shouldn't have been in field goal range because they were holding on this play, and they called holding on San Fran. They didn't call holding on Kansas City. So I want to go into how you feel about the fact and the statement of there is holding on every penalty. It's just when the official wants to call it. Because I've heard people say it before. I want to get your thoughts.
You've probably never heard an official say that.
True.
The game has evolved, obviously, over the past several decades. When I played, it was in the old days where your hands couldn't get outside your body, and you had the way you blocked had no relation to the way players block today.
Yeah.
And in order to call a holding penalty, Dan, you want to see, obviously, that there is a restriction, a significant restriction. And what we teach our officials is, when you see that restriction, see what impact it has on the defensive player. If it has no impact on him, if he runs through the hold, don't throw the flag. If he gets, if the offensive player is beat to the outside and he grabs and pulls the defensive player away from the point of attack, that's a hold. If he takes a step away from the defensive player, that's a hold. So there are certain indicators that, as officials, we look for those on plays. If somebody said, well, here's the Webster's Dictionary definition of holding,
yeah.
Does that happen on most football plays in one form or another? Well, sure it does. But that's not holding in the football sense. And, I thought the officials did an outstanding job the other night. My guess is that people who are complaining about holding that was not called are probably looking at those plays in slow motion. And when you slow the video down, you distort time, obviously. And when you stop the video, you've eliminated time. And you cannot judge a play that way. if I'm blocking you and I quickly grab you, but then let you go,
Yeah.
and it doesn't affect the play, that's not a hold. But if you look at that play in slow motion, you'll see my hand with a fistful of your jersey and go, he's holding him. That should be a foul. So to look at those plays in slow motion is not it's not how that play was run, obviously, nor officiated. So again, you slow video down, you distort time.
So when you're looking at this, right, when there's a penalty that comes and you're trying to figure this out, and they send it out to Dallas, Texas, and you're sitting there and you're obviously supervising instant replay for the Big 12, so something comes in, are you just constantly watching the play over and over again in real time, so to speak? Because you talk about slowing it down, and I think this is a misconception, right? Because certain plays have to be slowed down, right? They slow down a play to see if somebody's foot is in bounds. So you have to slow it down to see, okay, where did his foot land? But then when we're looking at a holding penalty, like you said, it looks like you're holding forever in slow motion as opposed to in real time. So, I mean, you got to watch different plays differently. What can you tell me about the artistry of instant replay as a supervisor of instant replay? Certain plays have to be watched in real time. Other plays you have to stop, slow down, zoom in. So bring me into how, I mean, not every play can be treated the same. Not every foul can be treated exactly the same because it's different things. And when it comes to a foul versus are they in bounds? When it comes to do they have possession? There's all these different elements that you have to look at in instant replay, which can't be looked at exactly the same.
That's true, and there are certain plays, certain fouls that are reviewable in college.
Yeah.
There are others that are not. Holding is not reviewable. Pass interference is not reviewable.
Right.
Roughing the passer is not reviewable. Whatever the call is on the field, that's the call. The plays that are reviewable, certainly slow motion is used. As you say, did he step out of bounds? Did the ball break the plane of the goal line? Those sorts of things, certainly slow motion is used on every one of those. But the ones that the true judgment calls, which principally are holding and pass interference,
yeah,
those just aren't reviewable.
Do you think they should be?
You know, the NFL, there was a controversial defensive pass interference, I believe, in a playoff game several years ago that was not called. I can't remember if it was offensive or defensive, but they made it reviewable the following year, and it did not work out well. On those plays, if those were to be reviewed, first of all, you have the time element. Now we're extending the game. Second of all we're doing is substituting one person's judgment for another person's judgment.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we're reviewing whether or not a receiver stepped out of bounds, well, that's not really a judgment call. He either did or he didn't. If we're going to review offensive holding calls, you know, there are some that are clearly fouls, that are some that are clearly not. There's a great many that are in the gray area. And do we want to start substituting one person's judgment for another? I don't think so.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it brings up a lot when you really break it down, because in the run of the game, and they're, you know, obviously fans are watching these games, so they might be watching it with different eyes, right? This is my team, and so it's not holding. This is not my team, so it is holding. You know, I mean, we saw Trent Williams get called in the Super Bowl for back-to-back holding penalties, and then there's, you know, then you look at the other side and they say, well, the Chiefs didn't get called for this and that. Did you see anything in this year's Super Bowl and Super Bowl 58 for Kansas City versus San Francisco that wasn't called or was called that you would have questioned? Was there anything egregious in the Super Bowl that you kind of bring top of mind and say, you know what, this was a little bit of a questionable moment?
No, not at all. The one play that probably some people question, and I forget which team was on offense, it was a question of whether it was a completed pass.
Yeah.
And he dove for the first down. And I don't remember the details. And there's always the question, it goes back to the Des Bryant play of several years ago. Did the receiver hold on to the ball long enough? Did he survive the ground? As a matter of fact, I think Jim Nantz may have said, doesn't he have to survive the ground here? Or did he survive the ground? And they ruled a catch on that play, and it was the correct ruling. That play has evolved over the past several years, and what you're looking for there is whether the receiver maintained control long enough to perform a football act.
Yeah.
And in that case, he did. If you go back and look at the video of that, he has control of the ball, and then he reaches out for the first down stake. And that reaching out is a football act. And so they correctly ruled that a catch, both on the field, and I'm sure replay looked at it.
Yeah.
As well. That, to me, that was an interesting play.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up. Kyle Usich, the fullback for the San Francisco 49ers, number 44, because that was one I was thinking about too. Now, in my mind, it was a catch. And so, I mean, he catches, he possesses the ball, he turns, he goes up fields, and, when he goes, I think the thing is, we see people do this all the time. I was talking to my dad about this and my buddy Isaac. I said, if he had the ball and he caught it and he turned and he went upfield and he started to move and he grabbed it and he had the ball with one hand and he reached out with one hand, palming the ball, I don't think it's a question. But because he had two hands on it, and I know you're going to tell me it doesn't matter how many hands, but just hear me out for a second. Because he had two hands on it and he wasn't underneath it, he wasn't cupping it, I feel like it's a normal thing to see somebody grab the ball, catch it, turn upfield, and then have it with one hand palm, and right before they go out of bounds, they hold the ball out. And people go, oh, okay, well, obviously he's possessing it. Look, he's holding it with his hand. But with the two hands, he's not cradling it. He's got it on the sides. So I think they were looking at, as he was going down, does that ball hit the ground, and did he have complete control of the ball? I could be totally crazy, but I was thinking there, sitting watching the game, if he just held the ball with one hand out, I don't even think we're watching this thing. But because he had it with the two hands, the way he had it with them on the side of it, it was this like thought. And maybe if the ball hit the ground and it bounced up and he caught it, they could sit and say something about it to survive the ground. But I feel like he fully possessed it. I just feel like when guys do that with one hand and go out of bounds, we don't talk about it. But because he had it with two hands on the side, they're like, oh, did he actually have control of this thing? Did it survive the ground? And I guess that was maybe what people were complaining about, but in my mind, it was a catch.
Yes, and the act of him reaching with control of the ball, reaching for the first down stake, is that football act that is required.
Yeah.
And once you see that, then you rule that he maintained control long enough to have a catch.
Yeah, I mean, outside of that call, I don't think there was anything that was just sticking out to me. I mean, again, people asking for holding calls and saying that this season in general, Kansas City doesn't get called for holding and this and that. I mean, how do you handle something like that when you're in a game and someone's talking about, because obviously people are human and you want your officials to focus on the game itself. When there's this notion of, well, this team does this every game and it's not called, do you ever run into an issue with an official who hears these things and is thinking to themselves, okay, you know what? There's 9 games being played. Everybody's saying this is happening. So if I kind of sort of see it happening, I'm going to call it right away to kind of right the ship. Do you ever feel like there's this human side of an official knowing that something has been kind of like not called, or there's been the constant conversation that this one specific team does this one specific thing and they get away with it all the time, and then an official goes into the game and says, okay, you know what, I'm going to have an overly critical eye, I'm going to be more than focused on this. Do you ever run into a problem like that?
I don't think you'll advance too far in officiating if that is your approach. Sometimes before a game, you will hear that, 73 holds a lot. And when I was officiating, I didn't want to hear that. I just wanted to officiate the game that was presented to me that day.
Yeah.
And not go in with any preconceived notions that, hey, 73 has been called for 5 holding penalties this year. I better keep my eye on him, because what happens then is you keep your eye on him, he does nothing, and you miss something else because of that. The good officials, and obviously Sunday those guys are the best. You approach every game with the attitude of, I am going to officiate the game that's presented to me today. Yeah. And if there are 2 fouls in it, there are 2. If there are 20, there are 20. And that's what the good ones do.
So the question becomes, Dennis, in all of your time as an official, as a coordinator of officiating, as now a supervisor of instant replay for the Big 12 Conference, what are the most challenging rules, calls? I mean, there's been a bunch of things that have changed, and I know that you would do an officiating forum to kind of let us know in the media, like, this is what you have to look out for. Your predecessor did a great job of that as well, kind of breaking everything down for us in an hour and a half, in 40 minutes, whatever it may be, but saying to us, like, here are the rule changes, this is what it means, do you have any questions, this is what we see, here's an example of this play. What do you consider to be, and let's go to college football since you're, supervisor of instant replay for the Big 12, what have been the most challenging rule changes or calls to make, or whatever it may be? What are the things in your job in the officiating world today, in today's college football, that you consider to be the most challenging?
Well, from an instant replay standpoint, since in college every play is looked at by the replay official, it is not a challenge system like the NFL has. The biggest challenge from a replay standpoint is getting a game stopped when it needs to be stopped. And if you compare the college game to the pro game, in the NFL game, most times that play clock is under 5 seconds before the ball is snapped. In college, many times the 40-second play clock has not hit 25.
Yeah.
And the ball is being snapped. So there's a very small window that the replay official has to decide whether or not to stop a game. And that's what keeps me up at night from a replay standpoint. We don't get a game stopped, and we go back and we look at it and we see, that 40-yard pass down the sideline. He didn't get a foot in bounds. And we didn't get it stopped in time because they were going so fast. Or he did or didn't make the first down. That's the most challenging part of the game, I think, from an instant replay standpoint. For the on-field officials, the most challenging part is the players are just so good. They're so fast. They can do extraordinary things, whether it's and I'm just speaking at the collegiate level. They're just incredible athletes, and they remain the same age. The players, officials, obviously, you get older every year, so it's a challenge to keep up with them, keep up with the speed of the game, I should say.
Well, and like you said, I mean, when you're looking at instant replay and teams are moving so fast. I've witnessed this because I've been around teams that have that no huddle or the hurry up offense and want to run a ton of plays, want to run 100 plays, where some teams maybe running 68 or 70, and we'll see that false start penalty. How difficult is that to call when a team is so fast, no huddle, wants to move the ball, wants to constantly, like you said, did he catch the pass? Oh, well, they're already out there and they're already hiking the ball, so we didn't look at it. When you're in a situation like that with that certain style of offense, how difficult is that to call as an official? Because I have seen year in and year out false start penalties called when a team is trying to move the ball quickly.
Well, they have to be set for a second before the entire offense has to be set for a second before they snap the ball. What you want as an official is for each play to start in a fair manner.
Yeah.
And that's the overriding philosophy. So whether it's a player getting off too quickly, an offensive player, or a defensive player getting into the neutral zone, or a player going in motion, turning up field prior to the snap. All those things, when they happen, if you didn't flag them, then the play would not start fairly. So that's the overriding philosophy in those situations. I think the typical college game now is 175 to 180 plays. In the pro game, this is just a guess, but I'm guessing they're down to maybe 150.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, and you're talking cumulative, right?
Right.
Yeah. So when you look at that and you see that, like you say, 175, so that's little under 90 plays apiece. As you look at the game and break it all down, you're the eye in the sky now. You're instant replay. You're sitting in the headquarters. Do you feel the pressure? I mean, you're not on the field anymore. And when you're on the field and you can hear all the fans, and some of them, and half of the stadium loves you and the other half of the stadium's mad at you. When you're the eye in the sky now for the Big 12 and you get to look at this thing and they come to you and say, hey, this is what we think. What do you think? This is what we saw. What did you see? When they come to you for that extra layer of officiating, what do you like about that job? And do you still feel, even though you're not in the stadium, do you feel that energy? Do you feel that, weight on your shoulders of they've come to me to look deeper at this? I got to get this right. Do you ever feel the nerves of that, or are you just cool, calm, and collected, Dennis Hennigan, having a nice little scotch in Dallas, Texas, while you're watching this thing?
Certainly, you're anxious, I guess. Not so much nervous. The thing about instant replay is that you're guided by the video.
Yeah.
Whatever the video shows. And what we tell our replay officials is, if you are going to reverse a ruling on the field, you need to be able to show the video in which everyone will agree that his foot was on the line.
Yeah.
And so you're guided by the video as a replay official. And whatever the video shows, that's the decision. And, oftentimes in replay, you look at a play and you go, I know that ball broke the plane.
Yeah.
But you don't have a view down the line. So you can't change the call. Again, it's all driven by what the video shows, and certainly if you're in the CFP National Championship game, you have pylon cams and line to gain cams, but you got a game in the middle of September, maybe you have only 6 cameras on a game.
Yeah, well, and that's the other side of it too, like you said. I mean, different games call for it. You got better technology here, maybe not the best technology. I know you're in the Big 12, but I know that there's this connection of the Big 12 and the American and the Southland and the Mountain West. So there's this connection of kind of, utilizing and helping each other out. Do you feel that each conference is kind of caught up, or if there's a Big 12 game going on versus a MAC game, the officiating has more to them? I mean, is there, of the conferences, and I guess there's 9 now with the Pac-12 dissolving, but of the 9 FBS conferences, and you having worked in more than one, do you feel that there's continuity, or do some conferences, are they kind of at the mercy of the fact that they might get a call wrong because they don't have the technology or they don't have the access to as many of a certain piece, like we talked about cameras just now? Are things equal, or in most things in life, is there an inequality that can affect the product?
Well, they're not equal in the sense that every game doesn't have the same number of cameras. Every game doesn't have the same views. So it's not equal in that regard. But from a training, a philosophy standpoint, we're all on the same page. The national head of replay is a fellow named Dean Blandino, who is just the best teacher of replay that I've been involved with, and he does a great job just with every conference across the country, getting us to on the same page, to follow the same philosophy, to approach each review the same way. So in that respect, yeah, we're all on the same page. But obviously, the technology for the Big 12 championship game is different than the technology. When I say technology, I mean number of cameras.
Yeah,
It would be different than a week 1 game if Oklahoma State is playing, say, an FCS team.
Yeah.
The technology is going to be different.
In the instant replay, when you get the call, is the phone red?
There's no phone.
I was gonna say, I want to know what it looks like, the inner workings of this, right? Because people think like the bat phone, so to speak, and I mean, what do you love about the job, though, Dennis? What's for you? What fuels you? What drives you? What energizes you? I mean, to be an official, you have to have some of the thickest skin in the world. To stay in officiating, some people would say you had to be crazy because of all the hate and the negativity. And this was before social media. This was before people could say your name a billion times on X or Facebook or whatever. And this was before people had cameras on their phones and everybody could take video of what they thought the play looked like. And they could say to the official, hey, well, look at what we saw. So what keeps you in this, knowing that as technology's evolved in officiating, technology has evolved with humanity in general, and officials are, if this is even possible, they're much more scrutinized now. So why stay in the game? Why continue to do this? What energizes you about officiating?
Well, I love the game. I love being involved in the game. Just as an aside, I have never had a presence on social media.
Because you're smart.
What goes on in that world had no impact on me when I was on the field, and it has no impact on me in my role as a supervisor. The scrutiny, it's what's the line from one of the Godfather movies? This is the business we've chosen.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell officials. If the criticism is going to bother you, then you need to find something else to do on Saturday, because this is the business you've chosen, and it's highly emotional for a lot of people, and you are going to be criticized. and you have to be able to handle that criticism. Why do I stay involved? I love the game. I love the people that I work with. The folks at the Big 12 are the best. And I just thoroughly enjoy it. Before I got on with you today, I was watching video, from last year.
And I love that. And I mean, obviously, I tell people all the time, with anything in life, you're going to find out really quickly if you love it or if you think you love it. And obviously, you love it. Is there a call or two that you think is the most difficult to deal with in today's college football? When you're looking at instant replay, do you feel that there's something that's just it's the one that is just that kind of threading the needle sometimes, the one that when they get in touch with you and say, hey, look at this play, in real time, and you're looking at instant replay in Dallas, that you're sitting there going, oh, here comes this play again. Is there a play that you feel like in today's collegiate game is just a really, really, really tough call?
I'd say there are two of them from a replay standpoint.
Okay.
There's targeting, and then there's the catch, no catch.
Okay.
Play. The ones, does he have a foot on the line? Did the ball break the plane? Those, I don't want to say they're easy, but it's usually pretty apparent from the video as to what your decision is going to be. Targeting, well, let me go to catch, no catch. We talked about the play in the Super Bowl, and the philosophy on what is a catch has evolved over the years, and it's difficult when one of the requirements or one of the questions you have to ask yourself as a replay official is, did he maintain control long enough? Well, you and I can look at a play and you say, yes, he did, and I can say, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
And we could both back up our calls. We substantiate our ruling. So that's a difficult call. And targeting, because of the severity of the penalty, is a difficult call.
Yeah, more than understood on that, on both of those, and definitely appreciate that. Dennis, I'm going to ask you to be a part of something with me quick before we round out for today. There's a thing I do every Tuesday called the Ingredients to Success. It's proudly presented by Avicolli's. Dennis Hennigan is the Supervisor of Instant Replay for the Big 12 Conference for college football. And Dennis knows good food. And Dennis is a CNY native, so am I. Avicolli's open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We always ask that you drink responsibly, and we appreciate everything that Avicolli's has done for decades in our community. In this segment, Ingredients to Success, I pick a topic, and then we go into the ingredients to success to help that topic move forward in a positive way towards something good. The topic today is officiating. And I would love for you, Dennis, in all the years that you spent in the world of officiating, as a supervisor, as a coordinator, and as an official on the field, I would love for you to share with me what the ingredients to success are. If you were to hire somebody today, if you were to sit down right now and have a bunch of people come in for an interview, and you are trying to find the right officials, what are the ingredients to success of being a good official? We know it's human. We know people make mistakes. We know it's never going to be 100% and it's not foolproof. But what are the ingredients to success when it comes to officiating?
Well, the first thing you need to do is to be prepared physically. You have to be, obviously have to be in good shape. The ingredients, other ingredients for success, you have to work as many games as possible. That's how you get better at officiating, is officiating. We all started at lower levels. And you need the support of, if you have a partner in life, you need the support of him or her. Because in order to be successful in officiating, whether it's football, basketball, whatever the sport, that's going to have an impact on your life outside of officiating. And if you have a partner in your life, he or she is going to have to provide that support for you as you chase your dream in officiating. And like any profession, Dan, you have to put the time in. You have to dedicate yourself to getting better. Obviously, learning the rules is a big thing in officiating, but it's just being committed to it. Just being committed to it.
Coming here from Dennis Hennigan, Supervisor of Instant Replay for the Big 12 Conference College Football, in this edition of the Ingredients to Success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. That's it. We did it, Dennis. We figured out officiating from now until the end of time. Look at that. We don't have to worry about anything in officiating anymore. All the plays are going to be good. I'm kidding. I'm being facetious here. But, Dennis, seriously, I'm honored and privileged. I think it's really wonderful that Central and Upstate New York has such great officials like yourself and like Mike Kitts that have come from my hometown. I mean, I feel very spoiled to have people like yourself in this community and have the opportunity to speak with you. And it really does mean a lot to me that you take the time to break down the film here on the show, and that you've always made time for me in this world, because I think in the officiating world, so many people talk about, everybody has an opinion about how an official does their job, but very rarely do we hear from the official. And before we started seeing it on, NFL and them having, Gene Steratore come on there and all that stuff, I mean, we were doing it here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, saying, I want to get Mike Kitts on, I want to get Dennis Hennigan on, I want to get, obviously, your predecessor on, God rest his soul in heaven. And so it's meant a lot to me to have the officials approach and to give you a voice when so many are speaking for officials. And, that's not possible without you saying yes. So I just want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for answering the phone whenever I call, and just the kindness that you've had to me over the years really does mean a lot to me.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Dan, anytime. Just love to talk football.
Coming from Dennis Hennigan, who's going to go right now and go watch some more film. You know what you need to do, Dennis? When you're watching something that's really, like, for whatever reason, tell me what it is. I think we should do that. Like you say, hey, I'm looking at these plays to prep for the season. I want to go and watch those same plays because I want to kind of jump in the brain of an official and see, why are you caring about these plays so much? Because I think that it'll help prepare me for the season, have a more critical eye, because everybody has an opinion on it, right? But I love picking the brain, and I love watching film, and I think it's so cool that you did that before you got on the show today. So the next time a coach says, hey, Dennis, what's this all about? Why don't you send it to me, and then I'll call the coach back. We'll figure it out.
I will do that.
All right. Thank you, Dennis.
Okay, Dan. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
See you. Coming from Dennis Hennigan one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take our final step aside of today's broadcast. We'll be back right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, available to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is your place to go. It's the sports card headquarters, trading card headquarters for that matter, in my opinion. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and on Sundays from 10 to 5. And that's also something else, too. How many sports card places are open 7 days a week? I just went out of town, and I was going to check out a sports card place out of town. My buddy over there, and he's like, oh, no, they're not open on Mondays. And I was like, really? So, GG Cards and Breaks, 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5 on Sunday, and you will find singles, graded cards, packs, boxes. Right now, if you go there, there's a few more days left for the NFL Panini's NFL Player of the Day. You could find out how to get involved. You got to go in the store to do it, though. Go to GG Cards and Breaks today, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, and find out how you can be a part of Panini's NFL Player of the Day promotion. This is an awesome promotion. I've been a part of it numerous times, jumped into this thing. Weekly giveaways, a monthly giveaway. At the end of the month, the monthly giveaway is going to be a signed and autographed card of James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. Panini is doing a grand prize as well. A lot of cool stuff happening. You don't want to miss out on this. Head to GG Cards and Breaks within literally today. You got a few days to do this, and then it's over. And then whoever's on the list is up for the opportunity to win some awesome prizes. So get over to GG Cards and Breaks. Ask them about the NFL Player of the Day today. And, of course, you could find basketball, football, baseball, hockey, soccer, all sport, AEW cards. You can also find Pokemon, and you can find the new Disney Lorcana, all located on-site on location at GG Cards and Breaks. I appreciate them for all that they do. And a big-time shout-out to Josh and Anthony, Alex, Joel, and the entire team at GG Cards and Breaks for taking this big kid and helping me to have the same hobby with new memories and feel like a little kid collecting cards all over again. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I feel like we've done 3 shows today. I heard the special with Connor Carroll to start the show. I'm like, that was yesterday. Feels like such a long time ago we started the show. And it's because we had great conversation. Time passed quickly, and I'm very thankful for the guests that I had today. Thank you for listening and watching on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, which are both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Big time thanks to all of our wonderful places where you can get the broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can find us on so many different outlets: Amazon Music, Audible, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Podchaser.com, Podbean, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Make sure when you search us and you find us on these podcasting platform outlets, make sure to follow and subscribe. It is free on all of these outlets to do that. Make sure you follow us and you subscribe so that you stay connected to the show, not just one time, but all the time. And a big time thanks to our wonderful partners here in the community of Central and Upstate New York. I appreciate them so very much and thank them for all of the incredible work that they do, and that being Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Mom, Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, PB&J's Lunchbox, Avicolli's, Great Lakes Honda City, Pizza Man, Mother's Cupboard, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, and of course a big time thank you to being the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins, it's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You're going to find the Dolphins during Dolphin Time, weekly on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time to start Wake Up Call. AD and DT comes to you the first and third Wednesday of each month. And the second and fourth Wednesday, you'll find the Dolphin Dive, diving into stories of student-athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. And, of course, AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, bringing you our conversations like we will tomorrow with a ton to talk about with the Athletics Director of Lemoyne. Bob Beretta is going to be here. Our all-new special AD and DT is going to be airing live this Wednesday on Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, so do not miss it. You can find all of our Lemoyne content by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Make sure you hit the notification bell and check out our Lemoyne Dolphins playlist on our YouTube channel. You can also find them on the wakeupcalldt.com website under exclusive partners. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com, and you know what it is. Fins up. The Bryant Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Hear the Bobcats roar every single month as we bring you men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and esports like we did this morning. The Bobcat Buzz featuring head coaches as well as student athletes and administration throughout the year. The Bobcats are stepping into year 3 with us here in February of 2024. First 2 years flew by, and we were having a great time. The Bobcats offer such a unique connection from Syracuse's community, central and upstate New York, to the entire world, as their coaches will recruit all over the world to make this wonderful melting pot at Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse, where I get to meet people and you get to meet people from all over the planet that are on the same team working toward the same goal. Love my time on James Street with Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse in Syracuse, New York, and I love going and see them in the fields and the courts of life. Bryant Stratton College's Bobcat Buzz is exclusive to Wake Up Call, and you can find our everything that we have on our playlist on the BSC Syracuse playlist is on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, check out the playlist. You can also find the Bobcats on wakeupcalldt.com underneath exclusive partners. It'll say BSC Syracuse. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And as always, go Bobcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', which is obviously the place that you need to go to for Valentine's Day. When you are looking to get your sweetie something sweet, be it getting something for your kids, getting something for the love of your life, getting something for mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, a neighbor, a teacher, whoever, a friend, whoever it may be, Mon Paz is the place to go because they got it all. They got your sweet tooth, they got your savory tooth, they got everything that you need. So make sure you head out to Mon Paz today, 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Big time thanks for them telling us what's poppin', which gives you the list of topics and guests for the day, Monday through Friday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And, of course, big time thanks to Connor Carroll in his debut conversation, exclusive debut, talking about the esports program at Bryant Stratton as their new head coach here in Syracuse, New York. Big time thanks to Nick Monroe, former assistant coach under Dino Babers at Syracuse, spent 9 years with Dino from Bowling Green to Syracuse, and has been and continues to be the Minnesota Golden Gophers co-defensive coordinator and cornerbacks coach, and a wonderful conversation with him that I hope you go back and watch and listen to. Speaking about God and so many beautiful, wonderful things. Dennis Hennigan giving us a background of the world of officiating, answering some questions and diving deeper into things that go beyond just watching a play in a game or watching a replay. The supervisor of Instant Replay for the Big 12 Conference, Dennis Hennigan from Central New York, and him helping me to bring you the ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli's every Tuesday on Wake Up Call to round out the show. And today's topic being on officiating and finding a good, like what makes a good official. When it comes to officiating, what do you need to be prepared to be on your A game as an official? And that coming to you from Avicolli's. Avicolli's Tuesday through Sunday. They are open. Lunch, dinner, and drinks. Drink responsibly. 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Down the street from Liverpool High School. You can walk to the high school. And from the high school to Avicolli's takes just a couple minutes. We have our Liverpool Warriors broadcast there every single month. We're going to be doing one next week, and I'm very excited about that. So stay tuned on our social media to find out who's coming over to Avicolli's. And, of course, you can order online at myavicollis.com, AVICOLLIS.com. You can also go to wakeupcalldt.com, and under the Partners tab, click on Avicolli's, and you can order from their website off of my website, which makes it even easier when you're on there reading articles and watching different things and listening to past shows. You can also be ordering your food from Avicolli's. Great food, so many wonderful favorites, including the veal parmesan, their ziti, the margarita pizza, the meat lovers pizza, which you're seeing here on the screen right now, their barbecue chicken pizza. So many great things at Avicolli's. Make sure that you head out there today. You can also call them for takeout, delivery, and catering at 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. With that being said, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll see you at the Dome tonight. Please don't boo your hometown team. If you're going to boo the team that you love, well, you should probably get another team. So when you come to the Dome tonight, be supportive, be positive, be kind, and remember that these are human beings, and you should treat people the way you want to be treated. Golden rule is really important. If you learn nothing else in life, learn from God the golden rule. Treat one another as I have treated you. Treat one another as you would want to be treated. Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, X at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT, and, of course, on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on wakeupcalldt.com. I'm going to read this to you one more time. Psalm 116 from Nick Monroe that he put out there. I love the Lord, for he heard my voice. He heard my cry for mercy. Because he turned his ear to me, I will call on him as long as I live. The cords of death entangled me. The anguish of the grave came over me. I was overcome by distress and sorrow. Then I called on the name of the Lord. Lord, save me. And I asked him why that meant something to him, and he said, because God saved my life in a car accident. And everything, if you know Nick's story now, everything in that passage from Psalm 116 in the Bible, it sounds like it's exactly the words of Nick Monroe when he was calling on God in that moment. Purposeful, mysterious, miraculous, whatever you want to call it. God is real. God loves you. And God will never turn his back on you. No matter how many times you screw up, ask for forgiveness, get down on your knees, and pray to God. You know, there's something that was said a long time ago, there's no stronger person than the person that will get down on their knees and pray. That there's no greater sign of strength. And I will proudly bend both of my knees to the Lord all the days of my life. And I pray that you will too. And know that God loves you and God has your back. Please have a great day. Please stay safe. Have fun. Do things that make you happy. Don't hurt each other. Don't hurt yourself. Ask for help when you need it. Pray every day. Smile. Laugh. Be a big kid. And treat today like it's the only day you got, because it is. Make the most of it. And love with everything you can. And please love one another as God loves you and as you would want to be loved. Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, X at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. God bless you. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And we'll talk soon. And by the way, today's 213. My number's 21. My grandpa Cavino's 13. I see our numbers together all the time. So this is a special day for me. Every day is a special day, thinking of my grandpas and my grandmas. But love you, Pop Covino. Thank you for everything you continue to teach me. And I thought that I lost you when I was 6. What I realized by the grace of God is I have not ever lost you in 38 plus years, and I never will. I look forward to seeing you when I'm 150 years old, but I can't wait to give you a big hug. And until then, I will do everything I can to live the best life I can. I've only gotten started. Love you, Papa. God bless. Have a good day.